Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We've got a very big crowd today, so I'm going to wait a few seconds while our audience fills in. If you are here for a discussion with graphic artist Michael Schwab, you are absolutely in the right place. I am oddly excited for today's episode of Alta Live. So while this crowd fills in, I'm going to get some minor housekeeping out of the way. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Alta Live. This is the digital event series we do at Alta Journal. I'm Beth Spotswood. I'm Alta's digital editor. Today, we are so excited to welcome graphic artist Michael Schwab, who has designed the current cover of Alta magazine, as well as the images for each section of our guide to the Secret West. But even if you haven't seen our new cover, and you will, we're going to go through a ton of images with Michael today. You know his work, his images for Golden Gate National Recreation Area, Peet's Coffee, Amtrak, Lara Bar, and so many others are part of the West's aesthetic fabric. Today, Michael joins us from his Marin County studio, where we're going to look through dozens of images of his work, hear the backstory and inspiration, and dig a little deeper into this work we know so well. So before we get started with Michael, I just want to give a plug for Alta. If you're unfamiliar with Alta Journal, we are an award-winning quarterly that aims to celebrate and examine the West. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, I so hope you will check us out at altaonline.com. But without, Michael and I will chat for about 25 minutes. And so we are going to get to your questions at the end. There's a Q&A button right beneath us. Please use that Q&A button for questions that you've got for Michael Schwab. We will tackle as many of those as we can. And don't get distracted. This is a very visual episode today, so you're going to want to look. We've got some amazing art to look at, as well as kind of the inspirations, the Polaroids, the sketches behind it. So without further ado, Michael Schwab, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Wow, you are so good at this, Beth. You should be my agent or something. This is, you make me really comfortable here. Thank you. And I'm really happy to have been invited to this. It's great. Alta is great and happy to be aboard.
We've got people from all over. Hi from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm in Mill Valley today. Where are you, Michael?
Where am I? I am in San Anselmo, California at my studio.
You are not from San Anselmo originally, however, if I'm detecting correctly, you are from Oklahoma.
That's right.
Yeah. How did you end up in the Golden State? What brought you here?
Oh, it's kind of a long story, but I grew up in Southern Oklahoma, in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and I wanted to go to a school that had a good art department. And the closest thing that I could find at the time, this was in 1970, was East Texas State University, which was an agriculture school, but they had a really great art department, a little two-story building, and some really great instructors back there. Jack Unruh and Rob Lawton were great instructors at the time. They came out of Dallas. And after 2 years of really being introduced to what's going on, I realized, whoa, it's all art and design and lettering and typography. It's all going on either in New York or in LA. And I knew from there I wanted to get out. I did go to School of Visual Arts in New York for a semester. This was in 1972. I ended up on 23rd Street. I was by myself and went up to the school and just said, I'm enrolling here, and where are the dorms and where will I be living? They said, well, son, we don't have dorms here, but there's a hotel down the street. So I went down the street to the Chelsea Hotel and lived in the Chelsea Hotel for for a semester. It got to be summertime in New York and I had to move on. So I went back to Oklahoma, worked on my grandfather's ranch for a summer, and still wanted to go to great art school. And I was lucky enough to go to Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles. I graduated from there, and that's how I got to California. And I felt like I had just really arrived once I came to California, because everything was so wide open there for everything.
Right. Well, yeah, that's how we like to think of California, not only wide open kind of physically and geographically, but wide open in terms of creativity. And so much of your work, which I think let's just dive into right away, has a really Western aesthetic. So bear with me for my inelegant transition here as I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive into a PowerPoint of play from start. Okay. So this is, why not just plug California Book Club? Alta hosts a monthly California Book Club. And we kind of began, Alta, we began our relationship with you with this logo. Can you kind of talk about how you landed here?
Yeah, I started kind of reading about Alta magazine. There was some promo about it eventually coming out, and I thought, God, what a great name for a Northern California magazine. And Will Hurst is involved. Okay, I'm in somehow. And I made some kind of connection with Alta. And as it turns out, John Gecky, the creative director, called me and wanted me to do this logo for the book club. He told me about it a little bit. And John is a great art director because he comes up with a concept. He comes up with an idea. He knows kind of what he wants. And then he gives it to me. He says, do something with the bear. And so I could run with it. He let me run with it. He trusted me. And this is what I came up with. I wanted it to look sort of like a book plate or I'd say maybe a woodcut and have that kind of earthy feeling to it, kind of a timeless look to it. So this is how it came out.
Well, I like that. And you know, it ends up, as do so many of your designs, it kind of ends up on a lot of marketing swag, on posters, on mugs, on magnets, on shirts, and certainly on tote bags. Is that how, and you know, speaking of our creative director saying, give me something with a bear, this is our current cover. Is that how it generally works with a client when someone like Alta comes to you and says, we want you to design this book club logo, or we're doing a secret, in search of the secret West, a guide to the secret West for our issue. How much does the client get to art direct you?
Well, every project is different, but for me, it works. First of all, I have to kind of trust the art director and like them and know what they've done in the past. And if they know my work, they can just say, I think John just said, you know, I was thinking maybe we could have a bear looking through binoculars. And that's pretty much all he said. And I just thought, oh, yeah, okay. And the way I work, I like being given a task or an assignment in a way, and I like solving it. You know, I'm not a fine artist where I just wait for inspiration and paint whatever I want just because I'm inspired. I always treated what I do as making a living. I am in the old days, they would call it a commercial artist. I'm an illustrator. I like doing a job. Plus I have 3 sons. I have to support my family, and that has a lot to do with it. But my heroes were always illustrators, and going back further, even poster artists, like European poster artists. They're so dramatic. I think drama and telling a story graphically, that's what I like to do. And it's fun to sort of set the stage and have a character and have actors and place things in the right place on the stage, and then it works. So I think if I didn't do what I do, I'd probably be in theater somehow. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting to hear you. So each of these we kind of broke down for the issue, and we will send everyone a link, not only to this video, which is being recorded, but to all of these things that we mentioned, including Michael's website, where you can buy his work, to check out our kind of guide to the secret West. But each of these is a different region. We have the Bay Area, San Diego. There's each of these, you've kind of created a little logo for each of these regions of the West that we've identified and then found secret, we suggest you go to these kind of fabulous places in each of these regions around California, as well as created this map. And so when you're working on something like this, Michael, and you've got to work with our creative director, John, is it just, how long did this take you from the initial email of, hey, will you do this for us, to final draft? How much time did you spend on this?
I would say a couple of weeks, probably, maybe 3 weeks from start to finish. I can't really remember, but that's typically how long a job takes. I mean, there are other jobs like what we all do that have to be done the next day and just hurry up and just get it done. But other ones may last a month or so. It depends on how many revisions the client wants or the art director wants. And let's do this over, let's try it like this. But I'd say a lot of projects are just a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
I like to think that Alta is a dream client. So let's go on to some other clients where we can kind of get into the weeds of the process. Now, this is an example of you're knocking around an idea. How did this begin? Who's the client for this? And how far into it are you? Is this day one?
This is an old project, and I can't even remember who the client was. This was a spot illustration for something, and the reason that this is in here, we know what the concept is. I know what it's going to look like because I've sketched it out roughly. And this is the mechanical part where I really figure it out. I like working with tools, drawing table tools, French curves, triangles, T-squares, and all that. And I really enjoy working with lettering. I always have. And so that's sort of part of the illustration. This is a pencil sketch. And from right here, I would go to inking and I would use a rapidograph and ink this. Then,
what's a rapidograph?
It's an ink pen. It's just a very detailed ink pen. And nowadays, well, I don't have a computer on my drawing table, so I'm still inking and penciling and working with paper. Then I take the inking that I've done and I hand it to my assistant, Carolyn, who's been here for 35 years, and she's more the technical person. She's really the one who turns it into digital art, and she's really Michael Schwab, actually.
Carolyn in here.
Carolyn's been great to bring me into the digital world. But so anyway, from there, it goes to an inking, and then it turns into something like this. I put this in here because this is one of the first pieces back in the 1970s that I actually won a bunch of awards for. This piece kind of put me on the map. It was
so interesting. I would not have said this is 1970s to look at this.
Yeah, I'm still pretty much working in the same style as back then. And I actually had just met my wife back then. This is Catherine.
Wow. She was
immortalized. She was the model for this, my muse. Anyway, this
lady.
This won some awards and kind of got me noticed back in the day.
I have to say, this is one of my faves. Who is this? And why is he so cool?
This started out as just a sketch for Hal Riney and Partners, a big ad agency at the time in San Francisco. They were doing some project I remember it was for some kind of new mesquite charcoal. And they just said, hey, Michael, can you just come up with some sketches of cowboys? So this was one of the sketches, and it just seemed to work. And it really defined where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. It's dramatic, but it's very simple and it's bold. And I like the way the shadows and light work.
Yeah, there's a lot of shadows in your work. And yet at the same time, you kind of still manage to capture personality within all of that darkness. With something like this, this looks it appears on the surface to be very simple. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. But you must spend, and we've talked a little bit before this, kind of an eternity agonizing over the tilt of the cowboy hat and the placement of the glasses and
Oh yeah. This is based on probably 10 different Polaroid photos that I took of the model. A lot of people think, oh, this is me because it was on my first book. It was on the cover of the book. And they think it's me. And I just let them think that. This is actually my assistant at the time is Mark Fox. And
Mark Fox, we were talking about, your assistant went on to design the logo of the Buckeye. I had asked Buckeye Roadhouse, which is a restaurant in Marin County.
that's right. Mark is an amazing, he's a graphic design professor, and rightfully so. And he's an amazing logo designer.
And this is him?
He was the model, yeah, just because I would use people as models that are just around in the studio. I mean, I've used the FedEx guy, I've used Carolyn, I've used the, whoever is around.
Who's this?
They're I can't remember who this was, but
this is like a real woman who came in and gave you this.
Yeah, now this was an assignment for AIGA. I think it was AIGA, the American Institute of Graphic Arts, the local chapter that wanted different designers around the city to do something that had to do with the environment. So somehow this came to me about recycling. This is back in the 80s. And I just thought, oh, I want to portray Mother Nature choking. And so that was kind of my message. And I found old recycled cardboard and silk screened it on old cardboard that was recycled. So the message kind of flowed through.
Now this is the Themondavi logo, and I want to go back and forth here because you've shared with us your original Polaroids. Now, is this you and Robert Mondavi on what appears to be July 2nd, 1999? And have you just said, okay, so drink some wine, I'm going to take pictures of it?
Yes. Well, I was commissioned to do the corporate logo for Robert Mondavi. And
this is what we've landed on.
Yeah, that's the end result. And they wanted to have a profile of Robert Mondavi, and they had seen some other profiles that I had done of silhouettes, portraits. And so I said, well, I need to shoot Polaroids of him. I can't just look at pictures of him on the web or whatever. Of course, the web wasn't even around then. But so they said, okay, come on out on Tuesday. He'll be ready for you. You can have like 10 minutes of his time. And I said, okay. So I went there. I had my camera and a spotlight and a piece of cardboard to tape on the wall. And so sure enough, Robert Mondavi comes out, and I was so impressed with him. He put in, at the time, he was in his mid 80s and worked harder than anyone out there. He was putting in 12 and 14-hour days. I just love this guy. He was very sweet, didn't say much. He said, what do you want me to do? And he had this little voice. I was surprised, but he's a big man that I wouldn't want to get on his bad side. But he was really sweet. And so I just said, well, okay, let's get a glass of wine, hold the wine. I'm sort of nervous, and I've got my camera, and I'm saying, okay, lift the wine up, tilt the wine, chin up, look at the wine, tilt it, get it closer to your lips. Now, no, tilt it the other way. And I was just freaking out a little bit, thinking, okay, I'm telling Robert Mondavi how to hold his wine, which was kind of frightening. And one thing I noticed about him, he always put his little finger, his pinky, under the rim of the glass. And I remember thinking at the time, okay, I'm going to show that. And I drink my wine.
Show that?
I now put my pinky under my wine glass. Robert Mondavi does that.
I never noticed that on that logo before, but lo and behold, there it is. And so Polaroid, why are these really Polaroids that you take? I mean,
yeah.
Why Polaroids?
They're quick, black and white. They're just easy to shoot with. I can look at them instantly. I mean, back in the day, I'd have to go get film developed and wait 2 or 3 days. I mean, I can just see it right here. These are various photographs that I've taken of different projects, different subject matter.
So many silhouettes.
Down on that third row, there's the Cowboy in the raincoat. That's Mark Fox down there. And
And I see we have Mother Nature down here in a different non-strangulation pose.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Silhouettes seem to be a really appear pretty consistently throughout your work. Is there a reason? Do you get something from a silhouette in particular?
I like working with something that's simple and black and white. And I always liked old storybooks, old children's books that just had silhouettes in them. And there's a mystery to it. You don't really know how old they are or who they are. It's just the drama of the pose that comes through. And it's kind of fun to direct the model and try different things.
So let's dive into some of our, I think that the most kind of recognizable in terms of this is what's up in my house. How did these are Gigi Nra?
Well, I don't know why California Stories is imposed on that somehow in front of it. This is a California Stories, but not sure.
Sure, we'll go for it. Well, so the California Stories is part of what?
That was for the California Council for the Humanities, and they commissioned me to do a poster for them that they could use and have it represent them. This isn't part of the Golden Gate National Parks.
Right. Is this your house?
Yes. And I put that on there just to show what a piece would look like framed. I don't know. I kind of like that still life anyway.
Yeah, I like it too. Okay, so here we go. This is the Gigi Nra. And I will admit, in our practice session, I had to show Michael Schwab that I have this framed and hanging in my house. These are works that are when any one of us either visits the Bay Area or who lives in the Bay Area visits any of these places, Muir Woods, Alcatraz, Stinson, the Headlands. I see a Fort Point behind you. These images are so instantly recognizable and now so associated with each of these special locations in the Bay Area. How did you score this incredible gig? What's the story behind it?
My work was starting to kind of have this flavor, this attitude. And I got a call from the Golden Gate National Parks, and Rich Silverstein had been working with the board. I think he was on the board, and of Goodby Silverstein and Partners. And of course he looked at things from a marketing and advertising point of view. And his message to the board was, we need to brand these parks. We need to create icons so that people know that they're all connected. Like everyone knew that Gigi Nra or Gigi Npa, it was all land around the Golden Gate Bridge, but no one really realized, oh, it's Alcatraz, it's Mount Tam, it's the Presidio. They didn't realize that all these parks were connected and that they are national parks now. They went from military to national parks. And they wanted that to come across. They said, we want to feel the history of the parks, to look sort of WPA-ish or military-ish. So I kept them really simple. And I kind of added gray to all the colors to make it look, from my point of view, I just thought that would make it look a little more military-ish or even more earthy.
You added gray to like these blues and is that what you mean?
Yeah. And I think it made it, some of the materials that I was trying to get inspired by were older, and they just kind of had a faded, earthy, clay-like kind of look. And that's what I was hoping for here. I wanted them to feel like woodcuts, a little bit of military and national parks. And I wanted to keep them really simple. We were limited to 3 colors and black. So
for each image.
And that's like putting together strategically a puzzle so that those 3 colors work and black works. And I don't know, it's fun to figure it out actually, and to piece it all together until I kind of look at it and say, okay, that's it. It works.
How big was your team that worked? This is a huge undertaking. So how big was your team that kind of worked on this? And was this a multi-year project? Do you just
Yes.
say, I'm going to
This
start with Muir Woods?
this has gone on. This went on for at least a decade, and we started out with 6. Um, Pretty much. Let's see. Well, the main ones: Muir Woods, Alcatraz, the Bridge, the Presidio, Fort Mason, um, Point Bonita. Those were the first ones, and every couple of years we'd add 2 more or 1 more. The most recent one is Ocean Beach. And sometimes people would say, oh, it's just boring. There's too much, there's not enough going on. I remember one of the board members, I don't know who it was, but for Muir Woods, they wanted to put ferns all around the base of the tree. And I just said, no, we're not going to do that. And for Ocean Beach, all it is 3 waves. But that's kind of what Ocean Beach is about. It's austere, and it's all about the ocean.
So wait, when you say no board member, I'm not doing ferns, do you get the final say?
Well, not always, but I try. In this case, it worked. Rich was part of that, and he, if he says something, it's going to go his way too. So.
That's interesting. How do you respond to that kind of feedback? How emotionally connected are you to each one of these images? And when the client says, add a fern, how do you feel?
I just talk them out of it. And, that's harder to do in the beginning of your career, though. Back in when I was just starting out, I just do whatever they said to do, because but after a while, I realized what did work and what didn't work. And for me, less is more. Simplicity is key, just bold simplicity. And I take away so much, it would just almost end up being nothing. But yeah, I try to keep it simple.
And each of these now, each of these images, when you visit any of these locations, they're everywhere. Are you so used to see, you're a Marinite, and so a number of these places are in your backyard. When you're walking around and you see, when you go to Peet's, when or Alcatraz or Muir Woods or Olima, how does it feel? Do you even notice? How does it feel to see your artwork so prominent in so many places?
Well, it feels good. It's kind of an odd feeling in a way. It's almost like someone else did it, but it's very good feeling. But then there's also that feeling of, wow, if I had a penny for each one of those that sold, I'd be in.
I can't believe you don't get a penny for each one. Are there any, do you have, and I realize it's like, I know you have 3 sons. I would never ask you your favorite son, but do you have a favorite one of the Gigi Nras, or alternately, one you wish you could do over?
I think if I was going to pick one to give to someone, I think Muir Woods represents what I want them to all look like. And I like Point Bonita, the lighthouse that's kind of there in the middle. I like how simple that is. Alcatraz with the red sky.
Why does Alcatraz have a red sky? Is there a reason?
I just wanted it to have an intensity. Plus, if you look at that whole palette, it needs some red in there, so we need some red. But
so as you're designing each one, you're thinking of they all need to connect.
Yes, if I know it's a series, I don't want to have everything be blue. I want there to be, I know that they're going to appear together at some point. So I want some green in there, like Olima Valley down on the bottom. And I don't know, I just have kind of a palette of colors that I like to work with and spread them out a little bit.
I feel like Alcatraz is the one that I see everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sundance, moving a little east of California, but
yeah, moving over to Utah. I felt really proud to hear from Robert Redford's office, and they said that Bob wants me to do a portrait of his mountain. And so they flew me to Sundance Resort in Utah, over near Provo and Orem, and up the pass, up the Provo River, to this glorious place that he's had there for years. And this is just, I took several pictures while I was there. And this is Mount Timpanogos. And
you added these animals. Was that
yeah,
part
I
of
just felt
Bob
like,
instruction?
yeah, I felt like, let's tell a little story. And I really figured out what animals are there. Just put those across the bottom. He ended up having a show of my work there, and he was there. We ended up getting to know Robert Redford and his incredible family. And
is Robert Redford really wonderful as we hope that he is?
Absolutely.
Give us the Robert Redford scoop.
He's just very smart and really cares about the environment.
Also gorgeous.
And I totally admire him.
Awesome.
As most people do.
Yeah.
And after doing the parks, I kept saying, well, are we going to do Mount Tam?
I'm in one of those shadows.
They said, yeah, right, one of these days we own the parks, the Gigi Nra, the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. They do own a portion of Mount Tam, and we ended up eventually doing a portrait of Mount Tam. But in the meantime, I was just in a hurry. I did my own. This is one of the few pieces that I did just because I wanted to. And this is the view from over here. This is the north side of the mountain, and over from Ross Valley here where we live. And a lot of people gave me a hard time about putting the little lookout.
The golf ball on the top?
The little lookout thing up there, yeah, on the.
Why? Why did you include it?
Well, because it's there, for one thing. There is a lookout up there, but I think just because of the whole sleeping lady profile, and there's a little, I don't know, it's on the breast of the mountain.
Okay. So it's the nipple of Mount Tam?
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but
you can say it's okay.
Okay, so that's, yeah, there you go.
Whoa. Okay, well, keeping this PG-13, we're going to move it on forward. Here you are. What's time for yourself for? Oh, Peet's.
Actually, it was for Peet's. You're right. Yeah, you must have seen that at Peet's. This was for Peet's Coffee for their walls. They commissioned me to do some pieces. God, I was glad to work with them. They were terrific. And these are large prints. And this is me at my printer's shop, Art Brokers Inc. in Centerville. What's that?
We're going to get to, I think we see you with your printer.
Yeah, later on. But anyway, that's part of that. This was for America. Oh, we're moving on.
I know, I'm moving fast. I'm flying.
Okay.
So Sunset Limited, America's Cup.
America's Cup. Yep. I wanted that to feel like two sharks in the water fighting.
Wait. Oh. I mean, that's what's so interesting, I think, as we kind of go through these, and I'm going to speed up just as we
for the San Francisco Opera, I've done a lot of opera posters for the San Francisco Opera. Very proud to work with them.
Here's more Peet's.
This is also for Peet's.
Did you have a model for this?
I did. I just happened to see this gal and took her photograph and kind of lost track of her because this job never happened. But finally, it's on. I'd love to find her again and give her a model's fee or something. But I thought this worked out real well.
Okay, so tell us about the AllStar Game, because this, I just, is, you've got so much of your work, I think, is not only Western, but just really American.
Yeah.
And now you've got America's Pastime in San Francisco. So I take it this was when San Francisco hosted the AllStar Game in 2007. What was it like working with Major League Baseball?
They were probably the most professional organization I've ever worked with. Wow. There was no question about, well, what should we do? How do we do this? And they said, here's what you're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Here's when we need it. And we're going to run with it. And so, okay. And I had to sign my life away about ownership and everything. They own everything. Their contract was thick, but what a joy to work with. They knew what they wanted, and I gave them what they wanted, and any of their suggestions were great. They followed through with the printing. These images ended up being, I always wanted to be a poster artist, but I've never had my posters that big. They were on the Ferry Building. They were on the Bay Bridge. It was just like, gee, huge.
That's exciting.
Pebble Beach. Yep.
There's so many of these
Art director Tim Brennan was a great art director on the Pebble Beach job. Ferry Building is for the Ferry Building partners. Simple, 2 colors. And so many times that works better than a big full color thing.
Are you aiming for another cowboy profile? I love a cowboy profile. Are you aiming for kind of what do you want us to take away? Because it seems like so many of your images, you said, in older times, you would have been referred to as a commercial artist, but you're trying to represent the client here. And you need to send a message really fast, right?
I want people to be drawn to it for whatever reason. I want to stop people in their tracks. That's why bold simplicity works for me. And it seems like on every project I do, really what it comes down to, I'm trying to create a hero. The way I shoot things, the way I portray things, I really try to look up at them as if they're just amazing. And that's what I try to do. I try to create the hero.
Who's the hero of this? The wolf?
I think just the place itself. Truckee Springs, Truckee just recently, they're working on it now. In fact, they have all this open land right around downtown, and they're turning it into a park in a good way. They're keeping it wild, but organizing it up.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so Edible Marin.
Edible Marin for the great Gibson Thomas. She pulls that together. I love the magazine. That's their logo at the top, and
that's current, summer 2021.
Yep, 4 times a year. This will be the cover of my next book, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to it.
Sneak peek.
I always like that. That was a challenge doing glass. This too, I really got into glass, and especially on a black background. The only way I could show that it's glass is I really got into the refraction of the toothpick to kind of show that there is glass there, to keep it a little more 3-dimensional. That's all.
Perry's.
This is for that was for Perry Butler. What a great client he is too.
Wow. Oh, I bet.
He's a terrific guy. Love the restaurant in Larkspur. This was a couple of years ago.
At the Legion of Honor in San Francisco.
Yeah, California Palace of the Legion of Honor. They had a show on the Wild West and asked for these to be in the show. These pieces are in the Achenbach collection there. There's my printer, Dave. You
must keep Dave very busy.
One of the opera posters. Yeah, I try to keep him busy. He's a master printer. He's great.
And this is where the magic happens. I notice here that you have the Angels and Cowboys logo, and then you have Fort Point, which surprises me that is the poster you have from the Gigi Nra collection. Is there a sentimental reason?
Not picking that one. It's just one of them. I have it up there. I've also got a big Muirwoods. That's off in the distance, but that's a huge poster. That's actually a bus shelter poster.
Oh, really?
And at the time, the bus shelter posters for the parks, after they'd been up for a few days, started getting stolen. That was a compliment. I've never had work stolen. Someone also sent me a photograph of some of my work tattooed on their leg, and I thought that's another.
Is that a compliment?
To have someone tattoo it on their skin.
And tattoos.
Yeah.
So I want to bring it back to us. We're getting a ton of questions. Someone asked, what is Gigi Nra? It is Golden Gate National Recreation Area. It is part of the National Parks system. In addition to parks, they have recreation areas. They have, so that's what that is. And if you visit Alcatraz or Crissy Field or any number of their properties, locations, you will see those. These are really great. Now, I wanted to, before we dig into everyone else's questions, and we're going a little bit over as I predicted we would. I hope that's okay, Michael. I know you're super busy.
Yeah, I gotta get going. No, just kidding.
Is there something that you that you try and create to set you apart? I know that there are a number of times that I've seen a logo, a design that seems to aspire to Michael Schwab's aesthetic, but doesn't quite hit it. How does that make you feel?
Well, I have mixed emotions about it. My first is if I have so many people like you or whoever that'll say, hey, I think I saw something of yours. Did you do this? And when I say, no, I didn't do that, they say, I knew that. I knew you didn't do it. And there's something missing. And so that to me is a real compliment. But I don't want people to think that I did something that just isn't working. So I don't know. I think it just, after, 40 years of doing what I'm doing, 45 years of doing what I'm doing, if someone's going to copy my work, that's okay. Just do it. I mean, when I started out, I mean, here's a message to students. When you're first starting out, it's okay to steal with both hands. That's a quote from David Goins, actually. David Lance Goins and I talked about this. He said, just steal with both hands until you find your own voice. And that's really the goal for anybody who wants to do this, is you've got to find your own graphic voice that's about you. And I feel like this now, after so many years, I mean, this says what I want it to say about me, I guess.
Christy asks, how is your art and is it evocative of California in the West?
Probably by subject matter. And then also I think I try to keep the colors very kind of earthy and quiet in a way. I'm not trying to be real loud and splashy. It's what my vision of the West is. And it's timeless. I'm inspired by old signs, old gas stations, old logos on tractors, that kind of thing. That turns me on and inspires me. So hopefully it evokes the West.
Michael actually asks, I think it very much evokes the West. I also think that there's like a rustic quality to it, a little bit of a very clean, I was not surprised to learn that you grew up in Oklahoma in farm country. Michael,
oh,
yeah.
Just on that subject, I just feel like there's so many people in the Midwest that can't really become who they want to be, staying home and staying in their own local place. Sometimes it takes breaking out and leaving home and coming somewhere like California to be able to really become what your potential is, because it's wide open. No one's going to make fun of you or try to put you down because you're different. And you're raised with a strong Midwestern work ethic, and that all comes together to create success.
You think that's still the case, for a young Oklahoman designer, that they would need to leave Oklahoma? Can you?
Well, I don't want to get too far in. I don't want to put down Oklahoma, because I love Oklahoma and I love going back there. But I don't know. It's different sometimes in the Midwest, and you just see more out here. You're inspired more. I was inspired out here. I learned so much about just food and everything. Wow.
If we can hop back to color, Michael, and Michael C asks, can you please talk about your color choices? They are rich and often saturated. He thinks of it as your color palette.
Thank you. That's a compliment. I really put a lot of time in putting colors next to each other, and I don't finish a project until the colors kind of sing. And a lot of times, I mentioned Carolyn earlier, who I work with, she can kind of see that too. We both kind of get to the point where, oh yeah, okay, that's working. And it's just what I think works, I guess.
Do you have a favorite other artist? If we're inspired by your work, do you follow up and coming artists? Are there vintage artists that you are particularly fond of?
Oh yeah.
Who should we check out?
I would say, let's see, in America, I would check out Rockwell Kent. Amazing work, engravings and letterpress, very, very bookish designs, very, very smart and literary. Rockwell Kent was amazing with typography and images. And then Norman Rockwell, and just the unknown artist that just did covers for old Zane Grey books, a lot of storybooks. N.C. Wyeth, amazing. Oh, gee, I'm going to be forgetting people, but in Germany, Ludwig Holbein, he was an amazing poster artist, very dramatic. He's the type of old commercial artist that wore a three-piece suit at his drawing table and had a pipe, and that kind of thing.
Someone from Poland. We have someone tuning in from Krakow, Poland.
Oh.
Any? Are you familiar with Polish poster artists? They're quite famous.
Not by name, but the Polish style is very dramatic and very strong and bold. I totally admire it.
Shout out to Poland. I'm a big fan of Krakow. What's a radiograph? Many of the younger designers I work with, Dan points this out, ask the same question. Why do you like radiographs? Do you have one right there that you can show us?
Rapidograph.
Oh.
Okay.
Tell us about the rapidograph then, because I
here's a rapidograph. This is what we learned how to ink with in school, and I think some people still are. That's a rapidograph. It's got a very sharp needle point. So.
And is that like a corn silk?
No.
Yellow.
Oh, I guess I don't know.
Is that one of your colors? Do you mix your own colors?
See, here's rapidograph.
Oh, rapidograph for like repeating?
Rapidograph. No, that's just the name of it by Kohinoor. And it's what all logo designers and everything use forever. I just still use them. It's hard to even find parts for them. And, I still use, drawing tools, mechanical pencil. I can't believe I'm treating this like they're ancient, but.
Well, it's everyone. I mean, now when people theoretically a graphic designer or a graphic artist, do they just?
Here's an inking that's on my drawing table right now.
Can you tell us who this is for?
This is for Angels and Cowboys wine, which is amazing wine. I designed their label, their logo. Here's their logo right here. Great wine, winning lots of awards, and so they're doing an event where they're helping feed families and also drinking wine, I guess. But great company. I feel glad to work with them, and I felt really good about working with Alta. And I noticed you're using illustration, and people haven't been using illustration. John Matos, you had John Matos in the recent issue, and I was so glad to see. Let's see here. Here's John Matos.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, this is actually, Michael, as we've gone so far over with all of your generous time, that is a great place to end, because that is for a story on Ambrose Bierce and a search to try and find out the mystery of his disappearance and his death in Mexico. And so we have a kind of a examination of that cold case in our current issue, and that is our Alta Live next week with the author of that, Jeff Gray, and historian William Deverell from USC Huntington Institute on California in the West. So I like that this is a mutual admiration society, as we are such fans of yours. How about one last question for you while I have you, Michael Schwab? This is a rare moment of getting to ask you anything. Can you tell us kind of what's next, or your bucket list client? If you could design a new logo, a poster that you haven't had the opportunity yet, do you have a bucket list?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm at that point now where I'm sort of more excited about going mountain biking and going skiing and everything. But I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Do you take what comes next? Do you pick and choose? if
Pretty much. I think
Coca-Cola comes to you
I got to
tomorrow?
say this, things did kind of slow down during COVID. And I think there are so many people out there with computers. And when the computer came out, I wanted my work to not look like a computer because everyone was trying to get things so precise and everything. I wanted my things to look rough and show craftsmanship. What I'm excited about now is that people are contacting my website and wanting to buy images, printed images, like they want prints of certain things. So I arranged it so, yeah, we can actually sell signed prints. So that's exciting to me to kind of set that up because I want my past work to work for me now. And I don't know that I really want to just have deadlines all the time still. I've had deadlines on projects all my life here. So maybe it's time to move on. I don't know.
And you have 3 grown sons, you've got a grandkid.
Oh, yeah. I'm so proud of my sons. Yeah. Yeah.
I love every time we talk about family, which I just think is so
We do.
adorable.
Yep.
Michael, it's just an absolute delight to get to know you through this process of having your work with Alta and having you take the time and share so much of your work with us. I am really, really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll continue to follow each other on Instagram. And
Oh yes, I'll share Michael Schwab's Instagram with everyone in our follow-up email to this. It is fun and artsy, and you feel like you get to know Michael and kind of peek into his life, artistic and otherwise. So it's great.
thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for coming. Again, next week, we're going to talk about missing Ambrose Bierce, who disappeared when he ventured across the border to Mexico in 1913. And we had a reporter down searching for his remains in Mexico, which is very exciting. So we're going to talk about that, some more history, see some historic pictures, hopefully. So please do join us for that. That's a week from today, 12:30, here at altaonline.com. Again, this whole interview will be up on altaonline.com later today. So don't worry if you missed any part of it or want to share it with everyone you know, which I suggest that you do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.